life have been romanticized in Japan in both biography and in stories like this. This was a very popular series beginning in the 90s. How many of you know Kenshin? Yeah. It's been 94 TV episodes, a couple of films. It's been a theatrical movie. So it's had a series of lives and continues to be very popular today. Not all depictions of samurai are so straightforward, are so historical. We'd probably see this best in Afro Samurai. This is kind of an amalgamation of samurai, cowboy, and urban hip-hop culture in one. How many of you know Afro Samurai? Yeah. Written by a fan initially. It was first published as what we call a doujinshi, or fan story. Written specifically with Samuel L. Jackson in mind. And ultimately he came into the project and voiced the lead character of Afro. It did get picked up as a publishable manga in 1999 and 2000, and then very quickly became a film. I did my show in 2009, and this had just come out in America. It's the story of a young boy who witnesses the death of his father at the hands of a gunslinger named Justice, and he grows up in a fairly violent culture, vowing to avenge his father's death. It's really interesting because, again, it goes against the norm for samurai films, but very, very unique and very, very popular. Now, even women get into the act. In real life, there were at least 3 women samurai who took up arms against an enemy that we know of, and they've been pictured in popular culture and in Woodlawn Crimson Touch. But we see them in anime as well. Probably the best known is Jubei-chan, which is the story of a modern schoolgirl who is the unwilling initially heir to a martial arts studio or school of swordsmanship. She's kind of a magical girl, and she has a mystical, shall we say, artifact that is the source of her power. So we see this rolling into one of traditional girls' stories with the idea of martial arts and samurai. Reimagined samurai are all over the place in anime and manga. Sometimes we see them as very traditional stories. They carry traditional swords. They wear traditional garb. But what makes them really different from previous incarnations is the fact that even in the manga, they use film techniques, panning shots, these blown away roof, or aori, which is a worm's eye view, so shots looking up. They use slow motion to show a sword fight. So they're using live action film techniques in anime form. Lone Wolf and Cub, as far as I know, was never made into an anime. It's a live action series that's been shown, and very, very popular. Samurai Executioner, of course, Ninja Scroll. How many of you know Ninja Scroll? Yeah. Bleach, as we said before. Samurai Champloo, again, which has got a little bit of cowboy and a lot of weird other things going on. So we see these reimaginings of the samurai in anime and manga. Now, in addition to traditional ninja stories, it started in the early 1960s and into the 70s. We come to what my favorite part is, and that is the idea of samurai in space. The evolution of sci-fi and the carrying on of some of these themes that we see in samurai about purity of intentions, about taking care of the downtrodden. It starts with Star Blazers, the story of Japanese refighting World War II by raising the battleship Yamato from the ocean floor and all of its cruisers and destroyers, and turning them into spaceships. How many of you know Star Blazers? Great story. A little confusing to me. I was in the Navy, and it's weird to see all the radar masts and all that flying through space. But it's an interesting premise because this is the first time we really see character development in anime. These are not two-dimensional figures like we see in a lot of cartoons in the West. These are characters who have a story that's developed over time. Throughout the series, some of the main characters die. It's the first time, again, that an animated film is really aimed at an older audience. It's really developed for young adults. Space Captain Harlock, one of my favorites. This idea of pirates in space, Johnny Depp before he was Johnny Depp kind of idea with the swashbuckling anti-hero who gets into all sorts of jams as he's trying to help people. So we see some of this code in a new form, but set against the backdrop of space. By the 1980s and 90s, as Japan is growing in popularity and importance economically, we start to see themes like war and peace in anime and manga. We start to see discussions